welcome. This is Jackie Cambridge. Welcome to one of our Take 5 videos. In these, we're going to go through one specific aspect of health and safety, but it's just going to take no more than 5 to 10 minutes just to keep you up to date. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'm just going to take you through the key requirements of this particular standard, which, as you can see, it's a British standard as well as an international standard, and it was updated and reissued in 2018. So the overview of the standard, it has 6 parts, so 6 main clauses, and each of the main clauses has sub-clauses. The first one is setting the scope for what the standard actually covers. Number 2 is normative references, where we don't actually have any for this particular standard. 3 is terms and definitions, which are used throughout the standard. We've got the principles of risk management. We've got setting a framework for risk management, which is number 5. And number 6 is actually how the process of managing risk. So it's about risk management as opposed to health and safety, environment, because all of the aspects of the things that we do can have a certain element of risk. So we're just going to explore the standard stage by stage. So clause 1 is about the scope. So it talks a little bit about what risk management actually is and why we should do it. It includes the fact that risk management can apply to any organisation, whatever its size, shape, context, number of employees, etc. Equally, we can apply risk management to the organisation as a whole. We can apply it to any particular specific activity, but we've got a common approach, whether we're looking at risk management on an accountancy, whether we're looking at risk management in a whole company, or whether we're looking at management of one particular task or activity. So the standard sets some principles, some goals that we can follow. It also requires us to think about risks when we're managing our business, but also sometimes we always think about risks, the things that perhaps could go wrong. But this particular standard also says by looking at our business processes, the activities that we do, if we know what some of the risks are, can we turn that round? Can we alter some of those risks and turn them into opportunities? So for instance, we might have a certain risk in terms of managing asbestos, and asbestos is highly dangerous, but if our organisation has actually got a good arrangement for actually dealing with asbestos, we might be able to turn that around as an opportunity because we've got the specialist knowledge to manage and extract asbestos from either from a building or from a ship or something like that, where other organisations haven't. So number 1 sets the scope for risk management. Number 2 is normative references, and we don't have any of those, so that's a nice easy one. Section 3 gives us some standard terms and definitions which are used throughout. So it talks about, firstly, defining risk. You'll see from the handouts there's loads of different definitions used in health and safety, environment, and more generally in terms of risk. But the one that is used with this in this standard is risk is the effect of uncertainty on objectives. So if we're running our company and there's a risk, it's something that perhaps gives uncertainty. So at the moment, when I'm recording this, we're in the middle of the COVID crisis. So that is definitely, COVID is a risk. It's the effect of uncertainty on our objectives. Sections 4, 5, and 6 contain the main clauses to help us manage risk. So clause 4 covers a range of different principles, the principles of risk management. So they're suggesting that we shouldn't be just doing risk assessment and risk management because we have to, but if we do it well, it can actually create value and protect our business. Because if we've identified that there's a particular problem with perhaps the risk of fire or explosion, if we then manage that, we're actually protecting our business because it's going to stop that particular situation from arising. And then we've got our next section, which is actually establishing a framework for managing risks. So within our framework, the first stage is ensuring we've got leadership and commitment from the senior management of our organisation. So we need evidence of some top management support. They need to be looking at integrating risk management into all aspects of the business. So it's just, as I say, it's not just this bit that we do for health and safety. It might be health and safety, environment, finance, IT, HR, all of these things manage our risks. They need to demonstrate leadership, that we're taking it seriously. It's not just something we do when we can be bothered. Show their commitment to risk management. So that could be discussing it at board level, having health and safety committees, showing that they're actually not just talking about it, actually doing it. That would be supported by a risk management statement or a risk management policy, putting your money where your mouth is, showing people, employees and external people, that we're taking things seriously. What we're looking at integrating here is making sure that risk management is integrated into the entire structure of the organisation. It's not just health and safety, it's not just the environment. And that could be the whole range of activities, as well as risk management at a grassroots level in the factory or the office, but equally at board level, taking into account our routine and non-routine. Integration is about good governance, making sure that we look at risk management throughout the organisation, throughout all of our processes, etc. When we design our risk management framework, we need to take into account those internal influences within the organisation, how the organisation operates, its objectives, its values, its structure, etc. But also when we're designing the risk management framework, we need to take into account those external stakeholders, our customers, our clients, who are our regulators, etc., to make sure our risk management structure takes into account internal issues, but also external ones as well. The implementation is developing a plan, including time and resources, identifying who and what we're actually going to do. In order to evaluate the effectiveness of the risk management framework, the organisation needs to measure its health and safety and risk management performance, ensure that it's got implementation plans and they're actually being actioned, and to check that risk management is actually supporting the business and its core objectives. Once we've done that, again, this is where there's almost that continual cycle as well. It's not about standing still. We look at risk management. Is there scope for improvement, adapting? So, it shouldn't be something that's established in tablets of stone. The risk management structure, the framework, needs to change as the business changes, as its customers change, as society changes, as the economic situation changes. And hopefully by continually improving, then we'll make sure that our risk management system, it's suitable, it's adequate, and that those risks will carry on being integrated into the framework of the business. So this is the structure, the framework point of view. We've got to make sure that the business is adapting the risk management structure as things change. We're monitoring it in relation to external changes, internal changes, etc. The process part of the standard covers, again, a range of different activities, and now we're actually managing risks. We've got a structure for the process for managing risks. So within this particular clause of the standard, we're actually going to be looking at managing risks. So you can see here we've got a range of activities. So we're going to start by the first one. To manage our risks, we need to have good communication and consultation. And think a little bit about the difference between communication and consultation. 6.3 is setting the scope of our risk management process and what we're covering. So it's saying, when you look at risk management, look at your strategic risks. Look at the risks associated with your individual operations and activities. What about the risks to do with projects? What about the risks to do with a specific activity or job? And it's up to us to decide our approach. Are we looking at strategic, operational? Do we have individual projects? Do we have individual topics and activities? So we're looking at risks in different ways. The internal context makes sure our management of risk takes into account the business that we are, the type of activities that we do, where we're located, who our customers are, etc. So looking at that internal and external context. So the scope is about defining the scope of our risk management activities. Are we just narrowing it to one part of our business, or are we doing the strategic approach to the entire business as a whole? Clause 6.4 covers a range of activities in relation to risk assessment. And this is very similar if you've done health and safety risk assessments or you've done environmental aspect and impact assessments a very, very similar process. So in the identification stage, we need to consider what techniques we're going to use to actually identify risks in relation to uncertainty. That could be very simple health and safety risk assessments, doing inspections. It might be audits. It might be using these more complicated techniques such as fault tree, event tree, HAZOPs, failure mode effect analysis, bow ties, etc. But when we identify our risks, we need up-to-date information. We need to look at maybe changes to the business that could identify them. Then we're going to analyse them, because we might get loads of risks, but which ones are going to be of particular concern. In the analysis stage, that's where we're going to look at, again, we can use different techniques, etc., but we're looking at, right, we've got these risks, how likely are they to occur? And if they do occur, what are the likely consequences going to be? And how could that impact our business? In the evaluation stage, the risk evaluation is where we compare the results of our analysis with an acceptable standard. And then once we've got that acceptable standard, we can decide, right, we've got this particular risk. What are we going to do? Is it something we can avoid or eliminate? Is it something we're actually going to retain? Is it something we're going to manage? So we do the analysis, and then the evaluation, we're considering what the results of our analysis and comparing it to best practice and standards. And once we've done that, we're then going to look at the potential risk treatment options. So I've got a risk, what are we going to do about it? So from a risk treatment point of view, is it possible to avoid it or eliminate it? We may be able to get rid of that hazardous chemical. It may be we stop carrying out that particular task. Can we take steps to remove the risk at source? So actually seal it in, enclose it, that type of thing. Can we change the likelihood, i.e. reduce the likelihood of that risk from occurring? Can we change its consequence? Can we put in a range of different measures that could mitigate, i.e. won't stop it happening, but reduce the severity of it occurring? Can we share the risk with others, i.e. by having insurance or something like that, or using a specialist contractor, so sharing the risk or risk transfer? And equally, we may decide, we've done our risk evaluation and analysis, that we're actually going to retain the risk, but we're still going to manage it. We're going to do what we can to limit the consequence, etc. So we've got a range of treatment options, and obviously these are principles. There are a lot of other more specific options, depending on whether you're looking at a fire safety issue or an environmental issue, but we've identified, we've analysed, we've evaluated and come out with some risk treatment options. So just finishing off on the risk management principles, as you say, we've identified, analysed, evaluated and treated. Monitoring is, we said we were going to do some things, have we done them? Are they working? So that is monitoring, checking, we're going to take some action, has it actually been done? And then we review, we look at all of our risk management, we look at all of our precautions, all of our policies. Are they still valid? Are they still working? Do we need to change things? Have our customers changed? Have our suppliers changed? Has some of our internal context changed? And if it has, we then start the whole process again. And this is where, with our risk management process, again, that continual improvement, we're just not going down and stopping, we are continually improving. So we have done a quick potted tour through British Standard 31000 2018. Have a look at the document. It's very goal setting. It tells you what things to do and what it wants you to achieve, but it doesn't actually tell you exactly what you've got to do to get there.